What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about the most loved British shows of all time. As an American, I really don't watch British television, so today I'm very interested in learning about what these shows are. These aren't just shows that British people love. These are shows that are loved by the entire world. And I anticipate there's going to be some shows that I've at least heard of here. They're probably that famous that even I have heard of them or seen a clip or something. But I anticipate there's a lot of British shows here that I don't know anything about. And that's kind of the fun part that I'm looking forward to, learning about these really popular, loved shows that are British and I don't know what they are. So, with that being said, let's take a look.
Number 10, the IT Crowd.
The IT Crowd? I've seen the name of this show before. I've never seen this show. I've seen the name. I thought it was the It Crowd. Oh no. Now I feel a little dumb. That's because it is capitalized. I was like, really emphasizing the It Crowd. It's the IT Crowd. Okay, I've heard of this show. No, I have no idea what it's about. This is like top 10 most loved British show, really. Okay.
Crowd.
What was all that about? Well, like all women, she's shoe mad.
It doesn't matter which side of the planet you're on, the plight of your work going unappreciated affects us all. The day.
This is like a comedy. It's like some kind of relatable workplace or comedy for IT people? That's very specific, isn't it?
Today goings on of this IT department trio of Roy, Moss and Jen may have come to a close a number of years ago, but you'll still find it quoted around the world.
If I might interject.
Perhaps a little more niche than the
Okay. It's about super nerdy IT people working on IT things. And it's funny. Okay. All right. I mean, there must be a good reason this is popular.
rest of the entries on today's list, though it might have taken the world by storm if the American version hadn't failed horribly.
Oh.
Even so, this series served as a launching pad for the careers of its stars, like Chris O'Dowd.
Oh, no. There was an American version. Oh, no. And it was a huge fail? Oh, no. Maybe that's why I don't know anything about it. It was swept under the rug here in America in shame. Oh boy.
What happened? I fell off the toilet.
Number 9, The Graham Norton Show.
Okay.
Tom, do you know Madonna? And I'm like, funnily enough, no.
Let's just
The Graham Norton Show. I am aware of the Graham Norton Show. I've only seen this in the form of like little clips on YouTube and other social media. You see clips sometimes from this show. From what I've seen, I get it. Is this like the most popular talk show in Britain? I'm not sure. But I mean, they always have like the most famous people ever on this thing. And it's cool how the celebrities go on this show and the celebrities like interact with each other. That's kind of interesting. You see like this other side of random celebrities talking to each other and you're like, did they knew each other? Like what? And yeah, it's an interesting spin. And Graham Norton is always fantastic when I see him. So this makes sense.
just say there's plenty of reasons why A-listers jump at the chance to appear on this show. Graham Norton's unique interview style seems to have resonated with the rest of the world,
Right.
perhaps coming across as a little more genuine than his American counterparts.
Right. He's like slinked back in his chair, legs crossed. He's getting comfortable, Graham Norton. He definitely, from what I've seen, he definitely has a way of trying to keep it casual, which is really cool. Like, and not in a fake way, which is hard to do when you're like being filmed on television, like for a show. It's hard to be authentically casual and organic, but he does a good job, for sure.
There's also the unique culture clash between Hollywood stars and some of our homegrown darlings.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is based on your life. I mean, this is things.
Yeah, but I mean, loosely, Graham.
A lot of the show's global success may stem from its
Like, holy cow, they really got, like, the most famous people, like Tom Hanks, Tom Holland, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, what the heck?
YouTube channel, which appears to rack up views from the entire world.
As I said, well, this is going to make a great story on the Graham Norton.
Number 8, Downton Abbey.
Downtown Abbey. Talk about a show I have heard the name of a lot. And I still have no idea what the heck this show is about. What is the hype behind Downtown Abbey? I'm glad it's on this list, because maybe someone can explain this to me.
We would be delighted.
Good. Come at 8.
Following the life and times of the upper-class Crawley family, this series absolutely dominated in ratings around the world. All the humor and heartbreak was a feast for our drama-loving species, likely because it validates what a lot of people think Britain is really like.
This is like, it's an upper-class family, British family, drama and comedy. Okay. I don't think I've ever truly seen any kind of clip or episode of this show. So that's why I'm like, why? I've heard this word so much, Downtown Abbey. And I'm like, what? Why are people so obsessed? Why are people bringing this up so much?
He says he parted with your lordship on bad terms. He felt it might be embarrassing.
Oh, wow.
Just for me to feel embarrassed.
Somehow,
my.
they even managed to produce a critically acclaimed movie from the series that saw an international release.
Okay.
It's so popular across the pond, it even got mentioned in one of the Marvel movies.
Really? This is popular here in the United States as well. I missed the boat. I missed it. Like, I never got on the Downtown Abbey wave. Okay.
Always far more conservative than their employers. Everyone knows that.
Number 7, Sherlock.
What can you
Sherlock.
do, Mr. Holmes? Go on. Press a go.
This is a more modern show, although I think, like, maybe my brain is, like, missing out on the fact that this probably hasn't actually had new episodes in a while. But to me, it's new. I watched a little bit of this show, Sherlock. Benedict Cumberbatch. It's good. It's enjoyable, for sure. I guess I'm a little surprised this is like a top 10 of the shows, of all the British shows that are loved, like most loved by the entire world. Sherlock is on this list. It's definitely good. I didn't watch a ton of it, like only a bit of the first season, but it's definitely good. But this is saying it's one of the best, so it must get very, very good.
Well, he is the world's greatest detective for a reason. Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat's take on the legendary character brought him to modern-day England. While the show's popularity did somewhat decline after some questionable decisions in the final season, nevertheless, you can't deny it was a huge success for the BBC.
Don't you just hate when they ruin the final season of a good show? That is a travesty. Seems to happen a bit too often, too.
See.
Is it nice not being me? It must be so relaxing.
And if you question its worldwide popularity, well, then you just have to take a look at what a star Benedict Cumberbatch became after leading it.
Yeah, true.
Don't get up. I'll do the talking.
Number 6, Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf? Okay, now, all right, we're finally getting into territory where I've just straight up never heard of this. Red Dwarf? I can't even imagine, like, what's the show about? What's that mean?
How long?
3 million years.
3 million years? I've still got that library book.
Red Dwarf has the unique honor of being not only one of the greatest comedies, but also one of the best sci-fi series as well.
This is a sci-fi comedy? And it looks like it's a bit older. What? This is a British sci-fi comedy. Okay, all right, you know what? My interest is piqued. Okay.
So it's no great surprise that this show is massively popular across the globe.
Okay.
We all have our favorite moment from the not-so-valiant space adventures of Lister, Rimmer, Cat, and Crichton, whether it's Vindaloo Monsters or Mr. Flibble.
Uncle Arnie fries them alive with his hex vision.
Oh, wow.
Right, Mr. Flibble?
Red Dwarf
I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this.
stands as one of the most viewed shows on the international streaming service BritBox.
Really?
And with new episodes popping up sporadically on Dave, the series has no signs of slowing down.
What? Is this still going? Is this show still making new episodes? This looked like it was older for some reason. Okay.
Number 5, Thomas and Friends.
What? Wow, we're jumping all over the place. Okay. Thomas and Friends. Thomas the Tank Engine? Is British? What? Yes, okay. This is like the first show I can maybe technically say I've watched. I watched this when I was a kid. Like, too young to even remember what the show was about, other than sentient tank engine trains driving around with faces on them. Iconic, like every kid in America. I guess I don't know these days if kids are still looking at Thomas the Tank Engine, Thomas and Friends, but every maybe millennial or a little younger and a little older knows Thomas the Train. How can you forget him? Yeah, this is very popular in America too.
He's a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel.
It's no secret that Britain produces some of the most popular children's TV series on the planet, and Thomas the Tank Engine stands at the apex.
Wow, I had no idea this was a British show. This is iconic children's show.
Hurry, 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 laugh Gordon. You can't get away, laugh the coaches.
While it's unsurprising that the series found success in the States, what you might not know is that the little train is insanely popular in Japan. Hell, the Oigawa Railway Company even created their own life-size replica of him that operates. So hey.
No, I had no idea. I guess I'm not shocked. Children's shows, if done correctly, that's the kind of thing that can transcend like language and culture. Just like a wholesome children's show about tanks with faces. Okay. This like the it's fine. This is the one show that I am familiar with so far. Okay.
Thomas was a big part of a lot of kids' childhood, not just your own.
How can I run my line properly if Henry is always late?
Number 4, The Great British Bake Off.
The Great British Bake Off. This makes sense to me, because this is like a nationally televised. I've heard of this, The Great British Bake Off. I've never seen it. I assume it's like a cooking show, baking competition. But this is number 4 on the most loved British shows by the entire world. Okay. I enjoy a good reality show. And, maybe a cooking reality show. Okay.
Off.
Lovely and squidgy and fresh.
How on earth this happened, we have no idea. Somehow, our quaint little show about baking cakes and whatnot was embraced by the Americans and more.
Okay, I guess there's Americans who have watched this. I never really saw this on TV when I was growing up and during my life. I never really saw this as an option to watch, but I've definitely heard of it. It's definitely famous.
Many a soggy bottom has been seen by eyes across the world, leading to parodies and references in US media.
I don't know. I don't know if the narrator's a little overplaying how much effect this has on American culture. Like, I don't know any references from this show, to be honest. I mean, the narrator was even, like, surprised this was on so high up on the list. Just an unassuming little wholesome cooking show.
At the end of the day, they're there and they're made and they'll go on the plate with everything else.
While some countries like Canada have made their own spin-offs of the competition show, none can match the love the original receives.
Okay.
I think it's wasted. I think for overall look, it looks attractive.
I think there's something about just like a straight to the point show, like a reality cooking competition that has very mass appeal, if done right. And I think that's why it's so popular. It makes sense in a way. All right, well, we're in the top 3 shows now. Most loved British shows.
Number 3, Top Gear.
Top Gear! I'm so glad this is on the list as well. Just like Downtown Abbey. I've heard this show's name so many times. Top Gear. I think it's about cars. How is this so insanely popular? Because that's what I keep hearing, that it's so popular. It's about cars, and then what else? Like, what's the hype with this one?
The simple fact of the matter is, if I wanted to put my children anywhere, I'd put them in one of these.
Okay, well, maybe not modern Top Gear, but the exploits of Hammond, May, and Clarkson continue to endear the world. From insane journeys to celebrity guests, this show had a little bit of everything.
I still don't get why it's so popular. What do they do? So the narrator is saying it's like the three hosts were really enjoyable, really lovable. They had celebrity guests. Do they ride around in cars? Do they talk about cars?
All held up by the signature sarcasm of its leading men. To this day, the clips online continue to reach viral status.
Not 220, but a massive 275 horsepower.
There is, of course, a reason why Amazon funded the Grand Tour after the trio parted ways with the BBC.
How many points off is this? And where's my eclair?
Number 2.
So, it seems like a lot of the success of this show, besides being about cars and driving cars fast, was the hosts. People really loved them and their personalities. Maybe this is just something you gotta watch to understand why it's so popular, but I've heard before that Top Gear is a very, very popular British show. Huh, okay.
Fair
enough.
Number 2, Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. This makes sense. Oh, I forgot about Doctor Who. Man, for the longest time, I'm a fan of like science fiction. But I would hear this name, Doctor Who, that there's a show, Doctor Who, and I was like, what is Doctor Who? Because that's another British show that wasn't shown on television when I was growing up. I never saw Doctor Who, or maybe I would have given it a chance, and I think I would have really loved it because it is right in the sort of genre that I do enjoy. But for the longest time, I did not know what Doctor Who was. I think there's a fair bit of Americans who don't know what Doctor Who is still. But I finally went out of my way and watched like a few episodes and some clips, and there's so much to the show. So many seasons. But I've really enjoyed what I have seen. So and I know this is like iconic in British culture. Lots of references. It's big in British pop culture. Everyone knows of it. And I think a lot of Americans know of this one, but definitely not all Americans.
Hello, everyone. My name is Imaginary Friend.
The Doctor and their travels throughout time and space have been a British TV staple since their revival in 2005.
Right.
Doctor, what is this?
While recent series have been a little more contentious with the audience, there's no denying that the period shared between the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, and the 11th, Matt Smith, drew eyes on the series from across the globe.
Yeah, those were some of the most popular actors to play the Doctor, whose character changes actors, every so often, and yeah. It's a good show.
The show went from a Brit-only experience to a worldwide phenomenon thanks to its solid writing and excellent cast.
Yeah.
And with its willingness to try new things, it surely won't be long before the series blows up once more.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. This is like number 2 on this list of British shows that the world loves. I had always, even as an American, I have heard the name Doctor Who. And but for a long time, I never knew what it was about. It took a while.
We can fight back.
Oh, yes. All right, and here we are. We finally made it to the number 1 show on this list. The British show that is most loved by the rest of the world. What could it be?
Number 1, Mr. Bean.
I believe they concentrated on calculus last year.
Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean. Oh, man. I have an interesting relationship with Mr. Bean as well as an American. but I think my relationship is similar to a lot of Americans. I've said this a lot of times in this video, but it's so true. I've heard of Mr. Bean. Probably the most out of all of these shows. I've heard of Mr. Bean. He's very famous in America. He's definitely famous worldwide. This definitely deserves to be number one. He's so famous. But with that being said, I've seen some things here and there of Mr. Bean, but not like his show or movies or anything. I never saw it on television. Americans don't really talk about it all that much, but he pops up every now and then. It's like even more exaggerated than Doctor Who, is that I've heard Mr. Bean and I see images of Mr. Bean and I'm like, and I even know that he's a comedy character that's weird and quirky and really, really popular. But, you know, and I think the American aspect of this is, given all that, I still have never really like seen much of him or know exactly what his most famous works are or comedy is like. And I think a lot of Americans kind of share that same space that I do with Mr. Bean. So let's see what they have to say.
Oh. Oh dear.
There's just something about this strange fella that planet Earth just can't get enough of.
Yeah.
While many of us would argue that Blackadder is Rowan Atkinson's finest work, it's just plain fact that Mr. Bean is much more popular on a global scale.
Right. He's really popular globally. And I think it's because he does a lot of physical comedy or non-verbal comedy. I know that much. And it's really a bizarre character, very weird, but it's really cool that it seems to have resonated with so many people.
It's likely down to the lack of dialogue in the show, making it easily accessible for everyone in the world.
Exactly.
And while Atkinson has teased us with the occasional cameo as the character, we're all holding hope that he'll one day return to our TV screens.
Good night.
Do you agree with our picks?
I do agree with that one. Mr. Bean, for sure. I'd forgotten about Mr. Bean until like this moment, but as soon as they said it, it's like, yes, that is probably number one most beloved British show or character around the world for sure. Mass global appeal. This was really enjoyable, actually, really enjoyable. This was by Watch Mojo UK. I gotta give it a like. I was actually kind of pleased with myself in this list, that even as an American who can be a bit out of touch, I think I'd at least heard of most of these shows. I've heard the names, which makes sense, because they're some of the most popular shows on the planet, apparently. But then, for most of them, I'd heard the name, but had no idea what they were about, which is interesting. It makes sense in a way. Like, they're famous enough, I've heard the name, but not famous enough here in America, because they are British, that I hadn't seen any of them, seen the content of them. So this was actually real enjoyable, to actually get a deeper dive and kind of understand why these are so beloved around the world. So this is actually quite enjoyable, educational as well, very good. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on this list or any of these shows. That'd be great. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and British culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.